Hello and welcome to Americans Learn. My name is Lauren and today I'm going to be watching a video called Really Stupid Cryptids. This is by the Budget Museum. I also want to apologize in advance because there's going to be a lot of that. I know that this is going to sound like a broken record at this point, but I'm sick. I'm not sure if I'm sicker or just sick again, but either way, nasty cough. So that is also why you get casual. Like me, this is probably as casual as I get. So, that's what we have. Enjoy. But yeah, so let's I know it's not any like spooky season anymore, but you know what? I feel like there's always time for cryptids. There's always time for cryptids if I can get my headphones to work. So there we go. There we go. Let's learn about some stupid cryptids. I don't know, are they going to be like stupid like creatures, or is it stupid that people believed in them, or do they look dumb? Like, what is the stupid cryptid?
Hello, welcome back to the Budget Museum, or at least, what was the Budget Museum? You see, these have been hard times for a museum that does not exist, and I might have done a few wrong things. Tax evasion, money laundering, fraud, and in return, my museum license has been taken away. But don't fret, because I have something just as good. Introducing the Budget Emporium. Step right in to see creatures you've never seen before.
That reminds me of in middle school when the county decided we weren't allowed to play dodgeball anymore because it was too dangerous. So my gym teacher was like, today we're gonna play evasion ball, and then proceeded to explain the rules, which were the rules for dodgeball. And so I remember one kid being like, wait, isn't that just dodgeball? And he said, no, we're not allowed to play dodgeball. This is evasion ball. And nobody told their parents. Like, you'd think that, like, you know, like in movies or TV or whatever, there's always one kid who's like, oh, how dare, and they tell their parents in like one of the classes, and then everyone gets ruined for everything. No one told their parents. We got to play the evasion ball for the rest of the year. So, kudos to Coach Cloud.
That's because, although I can't talk about real animals, I can show the wonders of creatures that science has not yet accepted as reality. For anyone unaware, these creatures, called cryptids, are animals in the cryptozoology pseudoscience. Creatures without any scientific evidence to back their existence, but plenty of folklore and legend. Think Bigfoot and Nessie. But unfortunately, due to my budget, I was unable to afford any of these high-profile cryptids. So I've instead opted for the stupidest and most outlandish and hair-raising monsters you've ever seen. Are you ready for oodles of fun and fright? Then let's get started. Mermaids are one of the more well-known mythological creatures. Starting in ancient times, the idea of fish people has always amazed humans, and they've been searching for them ever since. Chris Columbus swore he saw a mermaid while sailing to the New World, but this was probably a manatee. And on conspiracy channels and documentaries, you will find plenty of people still searching for mermaids. Now, physical evidence for mermaids is a bit more hard to find, mainly because mermaids do not exist. Yet people have attempted to show their mermaid specimens, the most famous of which was P.T. Barnum's Fiji mermaid. Behold.
Oh, P.T. Barnum. That's a whole nother topic.
The mermaid, restored to its beauty. Just look at that face. Now, if you can't tell already, this thing is composed of the body of a fish with the torso of a primate sunan. Back in the day, it was convincing enough for many Americans who came to Barnum's attraction in droves to view the specimen.
Honestly, something like that makes a lot more sense than like a mermaid that you would see in like the, a Disney movie or something. Like, it makes a lot more sense that they would, if there were to be a mermaid, it would look more like that probably. Just probably.
Many were probably enticed by newspaper ads showing an illustration of the creature, only to see, once again, this. Of course, nowadays, no one is fooled by these creatures, and copies of Barnum's original can be seen around the world in various places as more of a charming novelty.
Yeah.
I personally someday hope to find a Fiji mermaid as a way to round out the home. But the real mystery now is what actually happened to the original fake. It's presumed that Barnum's mermaid was lost in either of the
Oh.
2 museums it was stored in, both of which burned down. But a few places around the world claim to have the original, from
Of
Coney
course they do.
Island to the Peabody Museum. Of course, all of these are probably just chasing the fame and glory of, might I remind you, a monkey stuck to a fish.
Yeah. That doesn't look as uh convincing, honestly. Like his one, like his
Fame
version.
and glory of, might I remind
Like the other one they showed, like the other one they showed, it was like a little bit more, again, not like convincing, but it's like, but it makes more sense that it would look something like that, you know, as
Mind
opposed to
you,
this.
a monkey stuck to a fish. Now here's a few cryptids which are supposed to be taken as jokes.
Okay.
Fearsome critters is a catch-all term for animals made up by Americans at the turn of the 20th century, which are supposed to be completely unbelievable and silly. These mythical animals were usually made up on the spot by lumberjacks in the Great
Of
Lakes
course.
region as campfire jokes, or maybe ways to haze new lumberjacks with outrageous stories they are meant to believe.
That tracks too.
Since then, a few have been made
Just
modern American.
based on my knowledge of like Boy Scouts, that fully tracks. Actually, based on my knowledge of kids in general who grow up, I mean, yeah, absolutely. Making up something to haze somebody new, like, of course, people do that all the time. I mean, we did that, like hazing things like that never changes. We didn't invent a creature, but we did tell a busser once that he had to empty the hot water from the coffee maker. He took a very long time to realize that the coffee maker was hooked up to the water supply of the restaurant. Like, he had even created like a whole little like pulley system that so he didn't have to just sit there and hold the pump for so long. Didn't realize that he was never ever going to get rid of all the water.
American folklore, such as the jackalope or the hide behind. But I feel that some of the better ones are critters which are not so well known. Just imagine, on a dark forest night, the grizzled men around you tell you the stories of terrors like the goofus, a species of bird said to fly backwards, or the fur-bearing trout, who grows a hairy coat it uses to survive its cold environment. And of course, the legendary hoop snake. Name is self-explanatory. Among the world of cryptids.
So that when someone saw an picture of an Ouroboros and was like, I got it.
You have a few humanoids, a few animals, so what could be more terrifying than combining those things into
Is that the goat man? I wonder if that was the
a
goat man.
normal guy dressed up as an animal?
Batman?
No, it's not Batman, but it's the great Spring-Heeled Jack, the leaping horror of London. Okay, so maybe this is stretching the rules of cryptids a bit. I mean, this guy sort of just looks like a guy. But I still include him due to his mysteriousness and unnatural abilities. Starting in the 1830s, women across London told stories of a man who would attack them. His description varies, but supposedly he wore a cloak with a tight-fitting shirt and boots, had long claws and red eyes like fireballs on a gruesome face. His signature powers seemed to be vomiting blue and white flames, which he didn't do very well because there's no cases of him actually burning anybody. And of course, his incredible ability to jump pretty far in the air. I mean, yeah, I can't jump over tall fences, but I expected more from a supernatural being.
Yeah.
Over the decades of the 19th century, Spring-Heeled Jack would spend his time lunging upon people, looking at them all creepy, and vomiting mildly frightening heaps of fire towards them. So, what was the origin behind this odd jumping character? Before the legend even spread, there were multiple cases of women being attacked by a weird man, so it must be a bit more than just complete myth, right? Well, some really do think it's just a case of mass hysteria, a condition where groups of people will suddenly just lose their minds for a while.
Or it could have just been people wanting attention. Like, just like telling like, oh, it's a fun story, you know? It was like, what, the 1800s? Women were pretty repressed. Let's create a character that can, like, offer some excitement, you know?
But there are also theories of Spring-Heeled Jack, in fact, being many Jacks. It's possible this was a group of young aristocratic men playing tricks on the public for a good laugh.
Also
Of
possible.
course, I don't know how the power of the prank fueled these men to jump 9 feet in the air or spew fire, but
I mean, all that really takes is somebody gets away and the cop doesn't want to explain how he got away, so he said he jumped really high. Like, just a lot, like, lying. Just straight up lying so you don't, you know? And, like, as for throwing, like, belching fire, just Molotov something, baby.
those might just be exaggerated details. Okay, so this one struck me because I was looking through a book called Atlas Obscura, which, by the way, is a great book if you ever want to see the less well-known places you can travel to. Anyways, on one page they show many of the lake monsters of the United States. There are some pretty familiar shapes here. You have plenty of plesiosaurs, a few humanoids, some pretty spooky turtles, and then boom, octopus. Yes, supposedly in the deep abyss of lakes in Oklahoma, there lives monstrous freshwater octopi, malicious monsters who drown unsuspecting swimmers. After all, if there was no giant evil octopus, why have drownings in Oklahoma risen in 2020, the most inconspicuous year in history? Now, an octopus doesn't seem too ridiculous. I mean, a snow hoop snake. You might even be asking, why can't octopi live in freshwater lakes? Well, like many saltwater animals, octopi are adapted solely for the high salinity of the ocean. An octopus's body is designed to pump out salt and conserve pure water. If they were in freshwater, they would essentially absorb too much water and die. So they would have to undergo a complete morphological change to live in such an environment. Also, come on, lake octopi? Out of all the animals to be in a landlocked state, you have one which only lives in the ocean and doesn't even pose a threat to people? That's like...
I wouldn't say that. The octopi could. They're planning their uprising. I'm on to them. I'm on to those octopi. They're ready for us.
having a big ape in the middle of the Rocky Mountains. Oh. So here it is. As we near the alleyway of great horrors science cannot explain, I present you with one of the most terrifying. Behold, the pard. The pard, as its frightening name suggests, is a mystical and deadly feline whose appearance dates back to ancient culture. The pard's existence is also meant to explain the existence of an actual beast, the leopard. You see, somehow the ancient world just never saw two leopards reproduce, because they thought that the leopard was a sterile hybrid creature, like mules. You see, the leopard is obviously a degenerative, wretched animal, and the bastard offspring of a female lioness and a pard. Thus the name, leopard.
Oh my god,
Because
what?
obviously, this deplorable creature is a complete downgrade from our mighty pard.
I had no... Wow, okay. That's something I fully did not know. I'd never considered the etymology of the leopard. And that's on me. That's on me, folks. I never once even considered the etymology. How dare I? I need to think about things more carefully.
Allegedly, when a male lion would see his lioness making love to the pard, they would freak out and become enraged. And you know what? I understand. If your girlfriend cheated on you with this guy, you would have some serious and concerning answers to ask yourself. Eventually, as humanity reached the medieval era, the pard became more than just a cat. Soon, they were supernatural beings, evil and malicious killers. It was said that even the Antichrist himself
Look at that face. He's so smug. Ay.
takes the form of what else but the pard. Eventually, however, people would realize that leopards can reproduce, and legend of the pard fell into the sands of time. This video was really interesting because cryptids, even these hilarious ones, are still fascinating to study. On this channel, I usually cover real animals who are the products of nature, but these are instead the product of the human mind trying to answer questions to amaze itself. I mean, why are people drowning in my lake? Or where are all the mermaids of legend? The ways people imagine even the most outrageous creatures is fascinating. So although you should not believe in cryptids, certainly appreciate them as little pieces of folklore and man's imagination. Oh, and
I
the
love
final
cryptids.
monster is, Veggie Man. Half man, half produce. Trust me, I've seen him. Thank you for watching.
Alright.
As I said in the video, this was definitely an interesting and unique video to make, and I had a complete blast doing it. Of course, as always, thank you for the images and videos I used to create this content. And of course, thank you for staying until the end. See ya!
Okay, so that was the really stupid cryptids. Ooh, there's a video on Wendigo biology. I'm gonna save that for later. But anyway, that's awesome. All right, I love cryptids. I've always thought that they were really cool. I thought they were fun. I've always liked supernatural creatures and monsters, and I like learning about some ones that I'd never heard of before. I mean, there's some interesting ones out there. I just feel like a lot of them are just really misunderstood. You know. But anyway, what's y'all's favorite? Like, what's your favorite cryptid? It doesn't, not necessarily in this list, but just in general. Like, what's one that, either, like, have anybody seen one? Like, is there anyone that you would, like, truly believe in? I mean, there's several that I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? Like, it could be possible. Like, I don't know. Like, I am very hesitant to just say absolutely not to basically anything existing. I think that there's a lot, and even if it's, like, it's not necessarily the way that it exists in legend, like there are things that can exist that we've explained in a certain way that I think is nonsense, but like it can still be explained, but it exists in a different form, if that makes any kind of sense. I don't know if it makes sense, but like that's kind of where I'm at. I'm like, there's certain things I think could exist or could have existed. Now they exist in a different way, or like we understand it in a different way, so it seems like it's a totally different animal. Like I think like the questing beast was one that everyone like just talked about for a long time, but it was actually a giraffe or something. And it's just like, you play telephone with enough creatures. Anyway, is there a cryptid that like you've seen or that you believe in or that you just really like? Let me know. I'm curious. Educate me. And I will see you all in the next video.